Hi, my name is David Pino. I am a senior sociology major at Occidental College, class of 2014. And I would like to bring up what I would like to talk about today is an event that's happening at Occidental College called Silent Solidarity. What is Silent Solidarity? So, Silent Solidarity is an event that has been put on this upcoming Thursday, March 27th, 2014 by Occidental's residential education program, and it essentially asks for participants to sign up and receive an identity and understand what it's like to be a marginalized person. And from a period of so on March 27th, what these participants will do is they'll get a packet, right, and they'll get an identity. They'll get like a identity, a various intersection of identities as well. So you'll be like, one person will get, okay, a queer person of color who's working class and has a disability, and then they will be silent from a period of 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So, what before I really begin to kind of deconstruct this, I would like to bring up a parallel with a similar project undertaken about 53 years ago, known as Black Like Me, written by John Howard Griffin in 1961. In this book, John Howard Griffin pretends to be a black person for a period of 6 weeks. So, how does he do that? And this is a white man, by the way. And he pretends to be a black man in the South for a period of 6 weeks. So he gets the hair, he dyes the face, has the voice and mannerisms of a quote unquote black person living in this time period. And so why I bring up this this parallel, why I bring up this project from 53 years ago, is because it gets at a very similar point, what it means to actually embody people, and what stories are you trying to share, and what is the purpose and what's the end goal you're trying to illustrate. Um, it upon the main criticism really of the book, because he did actually experience, I guess, what you would call what he experienced racism as a black person would experience it, at a very, like, from a variety of white peers. So yeah, he'd get called, nigger, he'd be called various, forms of racially derogatory slurs. He would be banned from going in some places and not in others. So he got to experience for a period of 6 weeks of a what it meant to go through de jure and de facto practices of racism, um, and in a very physical sense. And why I bring this up is because what this mean what why is this actually why is this matter in a way? Was it problematic what he did? And I would say, yeah, it was very problematic, because what it does is he's literally this white man embodying a black person, and it's only for 6 weeks. It's not as if he's experiencing this every day. It it, it it's very superficial to think that you could understand a group by going exactly what they go through, instead of actually just paying attention and listening, and maybe acknowledging that you could not possibly understand what it's like to embody various experiences. Um, okay, that's my neighbor next door. Particularly, with this program, that's really one of the main problems with this program. But there's also another more insidious problem with uh, the silent solidarity thing. Now, as a person of color, from a working class background and having, anxiety disorder and depression and everything, it is very, very difficult going through, certain phases in life, because, I have to go through, racism, classism, ableism, and consequently, they do paint a picture of my life. It's these are unfortunate life experiences that I go through as a result of those who perpetrate racism, classism, and ableism. However, it would behoove me to say that I was silent, or that I get silenced, or that all of a sudden this is the only thing that really defines my experience. It does not at all. And as you can clearly see now, I'm using my voice and have used my voice to fight against these various problems of oppression. And so to say that all of a sudden we're silenced as targets of oppression, it doesn't tell the whole story, and it paints this picture of us as being consistently victimized, like we are all just perennial victims. It's like, black women in a Tyler Perry movie. If you just saw black women in a Tyler Perry movie, you wouldn't know that they were agents, or that all they are is just broken, you know, broken, over sexualized, and constantly abused by other black men. When in fact, nothing could be just further from the truth. That's not to say, of course, there are those who are, victims of, misogynoir, and misogynoir, so misogyny noir, so sexism against black women. Of course, yeah, black women do go through various forms of misogynoir, but to say that all they are just victims of misogynoir, and that is the primary focus of their existence, it's intellectually dishonest, and quite frankly, it's just naive. It's stupid. It just, yeah, and it really frustrates me to consistently see that all marginalized people, all we go through is we're just victims. And that's a very problematic way to put about it, because it robs us of our very agency and all the various ways in which we resist oppression and everything, and the ways in which we are actually not silenced. And we are not just passive, objects within our own oppression. We know that not to be true. Like, you could just look at Nat Turner, Denmark Vesey, Gandhi, MLK, Harriet Tubman, Cesar Chavez, Dolores Huerta. The list goes on and on and on and on. And to say otherwise, it's just these type of events that try and build, I guess, solidarity, through understanding how we are victimized, doesn't tell us the whole story of who we are. We are full human beings, and to treat us anything as less than such, in any capacity, is a very anti-humanistic stance, and it's something that we need to begin to call out. Now, I'm not saying that the people who put on this Silent for Solidarity are bad people or anything, but I think rather a lot of them are just misinformed. And it's unfortunate to think that all of a sudden the best way that, allies, whatever that means, or people who strive to be allies, the best way for them to understand what marginalized people go through is that you have to also go through the ridicule and abuse that we go through, based on our identities and based off the ignorance of others, as well as embodying us. Okay, I don't go through catcalling because guess what? I'm a man. I benefit from male privilege and patriarchy and everything. However, for me to all of a sudden, like, if I would have to dress as a woman one day, in order to understand what they're going through, one is very problematic because I could never understand the total psychological and emotional consequences that women go through in terms of street calling. Two, it's also very invalidating to the gender performances of transgender people, and those who embody drag queens, and those who embody these various performances as an actual part of their identity. And three, that means I'm basically limiting women to being just simply passive objects who are subjected to various oppressions, when we know that also women have, organized various ways into combating street harassment. And the best way for allies not, to fight against oppression is not to be in silent solidarity or to embody the people whom they are allied to. It is rather listening and trying to understand, while also admitting that you could not fully understand, or that we could not fully understand, what it's like to be a certain marginalized identity at any given time, but being empathetic, listening, and building across from one another, to fight against oppression. And that really, to me, is what needs to be promoted more often, and not this rhetoric of we have to embody one another in order to understand one another. That just, it won't work. You could not possibly, understand what it's like to be a person who is marginalized on a bunch of different fronts based off an experiment that you do from 9 to 5, on a Thursday at a college campus. It won't work. It could never work. You could live literally a year as a person of whatever identity. I remember hearing about a straight person who lived as a year as a gay person, or pretended to be a gay person in order to understand the various problems and complexities of what it's like to go through that. And instead, what he did was he culturally appropriated a subculture of gay culture that existed, and instead just completely missed the point and didn't actually do anything. He went in and then pulled out and then wrote a story about it and benefited from it. And that just doesn't do anything, people. And what we have to do is stray away from that strand of allyship. And yeah, and I would just promote, once again, just solidarity and understanding, and also just admitting that we're never going to get the full picture. And events like Silent Solidarity do nothing except for, culturally appropriate various people, and it does, it does not actually empower. All it does is it reinforces this notion that we are only disempowered, that all we go through, all our experience is dictated by these various forces, various social forces that are oppressive, and that we don't fight against it. And that's just wrong, and we need to stop doing that. Thank you.